Assalamu alaikum. Third year students, Translation Department. Today we have Chapter 7, Grammar. We are going to deal with Part 1. You have already seen or heard the word grammar from your primary school, secondary, till these years in the department. And from your study in the department, you have seen or you have moved among three levels of expression. Expressions means that the way of description. We have phonological expression, where sequences of sounds that can be represented in the phonetic alphabet and described in terms of their features. For example, we have sounds, and these sounds are going to be classified according to their features, like voiced, voiceless, nasal, non-nasal, stop, fricatives, aspirated, non-aspirated, and the forms of the lips. These are called phonetic expression or phonological expression, and this is the first level. The second level we have examined last lecture related to the morphological expression, which is related to the way we are going to characterize and to analyze the words and even phrases in a language in terms of morphemes. We said morphemes the smallest and the smallest unit in the structure of words, and also related to word formation processes. So we move from phonological level to morphological level, and then we have the grammatical expression, which is related to the process of describing the structures of phrases and sentences in a way or another, the level higher than the word level, in which we are able to account for these structures, whether these are grammatical or ungrammatical. And next lecture, we are going to move to other levels of expression like semantic and pragmatic. Grammar. So how can we describe a grammar? We have different definitions of a grammar, and in your book he mentioned this one: the process of describing the structures of phrases and sentences in such a way that we are able to account for the grammatical sequences in a language and rule out the ungrammatical ones. Okay, if you are able to get other definitions of a grammar from the internet or from other sources which can be give similar ideas, it will be okay. So grammar is the process whereby we are able to identify the structures of phrases and sentences, whether these phrases or these structures are going to be called grammatical because they follow the combining rules of phrases and sentences, or they are ungrammatical. Grammatical or ungrammatical. You have the following 10 sentences you see in the front of you, and you are going to identify which one is grammatical and which one is ungrammatical. These 10 sentences, 9 are ungrammatical, and one of them is only grammatical, which is the number 6, the boys study hard. Otherwise, the other 9 sentences are ungrammatical for different reasons. For example, the sequence of the elements. For example, the sequence of elements within noun phrase, or the selection of the verb, or there is no concord between the subject and the verb, and etc. of reasons. All of these can have something in common, that they are leading to ungrammatical sentences because they deviate the rules of English grammar. Why ungrammatical? We are going to take one instance. Why ungrammatical? If you see, in your book he said the lucky boy, and he said that if we take the article and put it to the end of the sentence, or we take the boy and put it to the end of the sentence, the structure of the noun phrase is going to be incorrect or ungrammatical, because we have fixed structure of a noun phrase. The article precedes the adjectives, and then we have the head noun. And if we take the noun and put it before the article, it will be incorrect. Can you think thoroughly about Arabic? What is the position of the adjective in Arabic? Al-waladu mahbub, and the lucky boy. You see that the position of the adjective here in Arabic, we put it to the end of this, to the end after the head, whereas in English we put it before the head. So this also can lead or can create a problem in your translation. Traditional grammar. We have different terms used or we use in describing the words in English or in Arabic, like articles, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, nouns, parts of speech, agreement, number, gender. All of these are labels, and we have got them from what we call the traditional grammar. And the traditional grammar, you know, that has its origin from two languages, such as Latin and Greek, where schools of grammar were common at that time, where people were concerned in presenting or prescribing what is grammatical and what is ungrammatical. So the origin of these terms we use in books of grammar, like articles, nouns, verbs, pronouns, all of them are derived from traditional grammar. And why we study traditional grammar? Why the language of Latin? Why the language of Greek was the source of books of grammar in English or other languages? Two reasons. In your book, you mentioned two reasons. Number one, because writers of Latin and Greek has written what we call a well-established grammatical description of Latin, of course, based on early accounts of Greek. And so scholars of English grammar or English grammarians, they found these descriptions already available, and they try to imitate them and to accommodate to fit with the English or other languages. So you see, in your book, he said newer language as such English. So English is regarded a newer language regarding to Latin and Greek. Number two, because Latin and Greek were the languages of religion in Old Testament and the New Testament, written in Greek and Latin. Also the language of philosophers or philosophy and the language of scholarships. So scholars of English grammar found that these two languages are going to be called sacred languages, and they should follow them or to take them as models for describing their own languages. And you see here in this slide, we have 9 parts of a speech. Nouns, articles, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, prepositions, pronouns, conjunctions, interjections, etc., etc. Of these terms, all of them are Latin. You are going to memorize these, or you can you have the right to go and search for a better definition for these parts of a speech. Agreement, one of the most important terms used in traditional grammar is agreement. And here you have a shape, figure, sorry, you see, female gender, Cathy loves her dog. Why hair is used? Because Cathy is a female. And what kind of description? We can say that Cathy is a third person. It is a third person singular. Therefore, the verb has taken S. So there's a kind of coincidence, a kind of harmony, a kind of concord, a kind of agreement between the subject and the verb, and between the subject and the pronoun we use to replace the noun. So traditional grammatical analysis has also given a number of other categories, including number, person, tense, voice, gender. All these categories can be discussed in isolation. So in your study of grammar, you have studied number, gender, tense, case, voice, gender. All of these you have studied them in isolation, or you can study them together. If you are going to study them all together, this is going to be called agreement, where we are going to identify whether there is an agreement between the subject and the verb, and between the subject and the object of pronoun, or the number of the subject and the verb, etc., etc. of cases. Agreement based on what? So again, on what we have agreement? What are the bases of agreement? What are the factors of agreement? He said that this agreement is partially based on the category of number. So we have singular and plural. It means that the subject and the verb depends on what? On the number of the subject. So we can say he studies, we can say they study. Why we use s third person s? Because the subject is singular. It is also based on the category of person, because you know that pronouns are going to be classified into first person like I, we have second person like you, and we have third person singular, third person pronouns like he, she, it, and they. So the use of the pronoun is based on the number of the person, whether he's first person, second person, and third person. Also, it is the agreement is based on what we call the tense of the sentence, whether the form of the tense is present, so the verb is going to be attached with s or accompanied by final third person singular s in present forms, whereas in past form we can use the same form for singular and for a plural, regardless of even for the number of the person, because we can say he went, she went, they went, I went, the same form for the past. But for the present, you need to identify the form of the tense. Also, it is based on the voice, whether we are dealing with an active sentence or with passive, because we are going to do certain changes on the form of the verb when we move from active into passive. The final category is gender. Why? Because we have a basic classification of natural gender and grammatical gender, and nouns are going to be, or subjects are going to be classified into whether they are female or they are male, and this is a very important point. So to repeat or to sum up, so agreement is based on what? On the number, whether singular or plural, depend on the person, whether the pronoun is subject, is first person, second person, third person. Is also based on the tense, whether the form of the verb is in the present or in the past. Whether also it is based on the voice, whether we are dealing with an active sentence or passive sentence. And finally, we are dealing with gender, whether the subject of the sentence is classified male or female. So grammatical gender, two ways of classifying gender in language. We have natural gender and grammatical gender. What do you mean by natural gender? Natural gender is based on the biological distinctions of the entities, whether they are male or female. And you know, we have biological distinctions between males and females. Second, we have grammatical gender based on the type of the nouns, whether these nouns are going to be classified into masculine or feminine. And there is no 100 correspondence or coincidence between grammatical gender and natural gender, because in Arabic, for example, we have the name Noor, the name Nidar, the name Ruja can be used for both, for males and females. So in what way you are going to say that the subject of the sentence is a male or a female, unless there is a bigger context of situation. Also, languages are going to be different in having whether they have two genders, masculine, feminine, or they are going to have three genders, where neutral is going to be added as the third gender. For example, usually in Arabic we have one basic classification of common nouns, whether طبيب or طبيبة, معلم or معلمة. So in Arabic has two grammatical genders, male and masculine and feminine, by using, and we move masculine into feminine by adding تاء التأنيث. طبيب, we are going to add هذا التاء المربوطة. But what about Arabics? For example, ending names like عبيدة, like طلحة, they are also ending in this ta, but they are going to be regarded as masculine nouns. Okay, English has a three genders, since we have the pronoun it, and we are here need to be to have a problem for translation, because it is going to be translated into masculine or feminine into Arabic. French, Spanish, and Dutch have different articles. You see, in French we have le and la. And de la, even for singular and plural, whether these nouns are going to be with vowels or unvowels, whether these are masculine or feminine, etc., etc., of these factors. Whereas in English, we have one article. In Arabic also, we have one article. Al-Ta'rif, we can use it for masculine or feminine. Al-Kitab, Al-Majalla, the book and the magazine. But in French, we have to identify the gender of the noun in order to use or to select the appropriate article before it. Traditional analysis, you see the figure in front of you. In traditional analysis, they're going to mention all the pronouns, all the subjects of the sentence. I, we, you, he, she, it, they. I'm going to classify or to analyze or to conjugate the verb according to these subjects. Whereas in English we don't have it. We have, for example, the word. We have, for example, the verb study. It is going to be the same for a plural, whether it is male or female. And it is for a present is going to be what? To be with S الشخص الثالث if it is for a present, and for the past form is going to be the same. For example, the verbs in French, conjuguer le verbe aller, chercher, en parler. You are going to je parle, tu parles, هذا إذا كان first person, second person. Il, elle parle إذا كان third person. And nous parlons, vous parlez, ils parlons. هذه لاحظ إذا كان فاعل جمع مو شخص أول، فاعل جمع شخص ثاني، أو كان الفاعل شخص ثالث. That's all today. Thank you very much.